Hello, my fellow creators, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Have you ever wondered, what can I do with that 12 by 12 paper in my paper pad that takes up the whole sheet of paper? You can't cut it up to make cards, and if you're not a scrapbooker, you're not going to use it for scrapbooks. So, as I laid in bed one night, the idea occurred to me, I can make a calendar using my 12 by 12 full sheet papers. So I pulled out my Cricut and I went into Design Space, and then I just looked through images and typed in the word calendar. And there are several images that you can use. Now, I'm subscribed to Cricut Design Space, so I do have access to many images. But I just looked through these and found one that I thought would work best with the calendar I wanted to make. So I selected that image and then I added it to the canvas. From there, I didn't really want the months of the year listed as they were on the top of this image. So I decided to customize this. Now, to do that, I had to bring in a shape. So I went over to the left panel and selected shapes and selected a rectangle. And then from there, I wanted to resize it, but I unlocked it first so that I could just make it longer widthwise. Once I made it the appropriate length, I did hover it over the months of the year. And then I selected my rectangle and my calendar image and went down to the bottom right corner and I did slice the images. When you slice the images, it takes away that portion of your image. So I deleted the rectangle and then deleted the months of the year. Then I went ahead and added some text and typed the month of the year that I wanted for my first calendar page. Now, as I was looking at this, I thought, let me resize this calendar because I know I want it to take up almost the full 12 by 12 page. So I unlocked the image so that I could resize it to be 10 inches wide by 10 inches high. I then went to my text box and resized that so that it was approximately 3/4 of an inch high. I figured the combination of this text box and the image would give me about 11 inches in height. Then I selected both my text box and the image and centered horizontally. Now, I didn't like the font, so I did go to font and choose a font that I did like instead. And I did go through my filters and chose a writing font. And the font I ended up going with in my final design is called Love Affair. Before you go to make your calendar, make sure that the operation on your text box as well as your image is pen. Now, once you have selected your font, make sure you go back and select your text box and your image, center them horizontally again, and then make sure you attach them. As you can see, I did not attach my text box and my image, which made them be placed on my mat just randomly instead of how I want them to look. So I went back and attached the text and the image, and then proceeded to hit make it. Once I have it attached and I'm ready to make it, I am centering it horizontally and at the bottom of the mat. Then I go ahead and select medium cardstock. Now you'll see here that Design Space is asking me to go ahead and load my pen into clamp A. So I'm going to go ahead and get my Cricut 0.4 tip black marker and put that in clamp A. Once I have that in clamp A, my Design Space is prompting me to load the mat with my paper. I'm using the light grip mat, which is the blue mat from Cricut. And then when you load your 12 by 12 sheet of paper, you're going to flip it so it's upside down and with the blank side facing up. Once you have your paper attached to your mat, then you can go ahead and load your mat in your Cricut. And you'll be pressing the flashing arrow button that you can see on the far right. Then Design Space will let you know when it's ready to go, and you will press the flashing button on the right. And I'm a little bit out of camera, I apologize, but you'll press the flashing button, which will then have the machine pull in your mat and it will begin to draw. There's that flashing green Cricut button. Now in Design Space, it'll show you percentage of how far you are along in getting that project done. And it goes by pretty quickly, but I don't want you to have to sit through the whole calendar being drawn on the back of this 12 by 12 paper. So I am going to fast forward it just a bit. Now I did leave the calendar without dates. I could have added those by adding more text boxes and putting them where I wanted, but I thought it would just be quicker and easier this way, and then I can just handwrite them as well as handwrite any other appointments or important dates that I want to add to the calendar. Now, of course, if you don't have a Cricut, you can always hand draw your calendar. Just get a ruler and a pen and make your grids and use your own handwriting to do your days of the week and months of the year. Or even better, if you find one of those ugly calendars like at Dollar Tree, $1.25, and then you just attach the pretty paper that you want on those calendars. And voila, you're using your beautiful 12 by 12 papers to make a calendar to your liking. And voila, once it's all done, you press that flashing green arrow again. And then you can take your paper off your mat. I went ahead and made all my months of the year for 2023 off camera. After I had made them, I thought, how am I going to attach these? Since I am on a no spend challenge this year, I couldn't go out and buy a binding machine or anything of that nature. So I thought I'll just grab an old 3-ring binder that's falling apart, and I ripped out the 3 rings and I hole punched my pages and attached it to that 3-ring binder. So here you can see I used different pattern papers for each of the months. So February I printed on the back of what will be March's paper, March on the back of what would be April's, and so forth and so on. I just had to be sure to think ahead as to what paper I wanted showing when the calendar is open. Hopefully next year, when I'm no longer on a spending freeze, or maybe for my birthday this year, I can get a little binding machine that I can use. Let me know what you think of using your 12 by 12 paper in this way. Thanks for sticking around to the end. I'd be thrilled if you subscribe to my YouTube channel or follow me on any of my other social media platforms. As always, have a beautiful, safe, and creative day. Thanks for watching. Bye.